Shalom, it's Tehila from the Kifar. Welcome back to my channel. This is the place to be to learn Hebrew online, and you can visit thekifar.com/Hebrew to learn more. This is Hebrew verb lesson number 47, and we are wrapping up our Nifal present tense verb conjugations with this final pattern. And so in our last lesson, lesson number 46, we learned the pattern for Vav, Tav, Nifal verbs, those verbs where the infinitive ends in a Vav and a Tav. And so the first verb was lihibanot, which is to be built. And we see already in the infinitive that it's a vav tav verb. And so when we get rid of the first three letters, the lamed hey yod, and change the vav tav into a hey, we get our root bet nun hey. And our masculine sound pattern is ni eh, so we get nivne. For feminine singular, we have nivnet. Masculine plural, nivnim, and feminine plural, nivnot. So nivne, nivnet, nivnim, and nivnot. The second verb was lehikanot, which is to be bought. And here again, we see the final vav tav of the infinitive. We drop the lamed hey yod, change the vav tav into a hey, and we get our root kuf nun hey. For masculine singular, we have nikne. Feminine singular, niknet. Masculine plural, niknim, and feminine plural, niknot. So nikne, niknet, niknim, and niknot. And here we have the 5 groups that we've done so far, side by side. We have our regular pattern, sounds like nichnas, nichneset, nichnasim, and nichnasot. We have our chet ayin group, and these are nifal verbs whose final root letter is chet or ayin, and it sounds like nishlach, nishlachat, nishlachim, and nishlachot. We have our initial aha group, and these refer to verbs where the first letter of the root is either aleph, hey, or ayin, and the pattern sounds like ne'elav, ne'elevet, ne'elavim, and ne'elavot. We have our initial chet group, and these are nifal verbs where the first letter of the shoresh is chet, and this sounds like nechshav, nechshevet, nechshavim, and nechshavot. And finally, we just reviewed the vav tav group, where the verb infinitive ends in vav tav. We change it to a hey for the conjugation, and it sounds like nir'eh, nir'et, nir'im, and nir'ot. Okay, and so before we get into today's pattern, just remember that you can get my guide to Hebrew verb conjugations. The link is in the video description, and it covers the past, future, and present tenses of all the binyanim, all 7, with an overview of each binyan, tables and charts, and additional information. You can go to thekifar.com/shop or just click the direct link in the description of this video. All right, so today's pattern we are calling third vav, and it refers to nifal verbs where the start of the third syllable starts with vav. Okay, so that's the part that comes after the lehi. That third syllable starts with vav. So we're calling it third vav. And I also want to reiterate, because I don't know if I've said it lately, but these are not at all official names. You probably won't see third vav or vav tav or aha in any Hebrew grammar book. But Hebrew verbs are complicated enough, so I like to give them simple names to hopefully help you remember these 1,000,001 categories. And also it's just how my brain works in finding similarities and the links between verbs. Okay, so that's my little disclaimer. So as you can see, without vowels, it's written with 2 vowels. With vowels, there's only 1, but the pronunciation is the same, le, hi, va, led. And you hear again, the start of the third syllable is with the vav. Now, our first step to finding the shoresh is the same as always. We get rid of those first 3 letters / the first 2 syllables. And then the next step is going to be to change the vav into a yod. Again, if there's 1 vav with vowels or 2 vavs, if it's written without vowels, the process is the same. We're going to change either one or both into a yod. So the shoresh of the verb lehivaled is yod lamed dalet. Okay, and the root is probably familiar to you. Yeled is a boy, yalda is a girl. So the root has to do with all things birth and child related. Now let's take a look at the pattern. So you know how with vav tav verbs, when we change the vav tav into a hey, we don't see that final hey in the plural forms. And when it comes to the nifal vav tav verbs, we only have it in the masculine singular. Okay, for example, nir'eh, we have a hey at the end, but we didn't have it in nir'et or nir'im or nir'ot, only in the masculine singular. And so we're going to see something similar here, that when we change the vav into a yod for these kind of nifal verbs, we don't actually use the yod at all. Okay, it's important to know so that we know what the root is and we can link this verb with other words that have the same root, but we don't use it for the present tense conjugation. We're only going to use the lamed and the dalet that were originally in our infinitive, and that's why you only see these two boxes here for those two letters. And we know that for nifal verbs, present tense, they start with nun. That doesn't change here. The change that we do have is in our vowel pattern. So for masculine singular, it's no, a. For feminine singular, it's no, et. For masculine plural, no, a, im. And feminine plural, no, a, ot. Okay, so the plurals are just the same as the masculine singular plus our im or ot endings. So if we plug in our root letters, and again, we're only using the last two, we're not using the yod. For masculine singular, we have nolad. For feminine singular, we have noledet. For masculine plural, we have noladim. And for feminine plural, we have noladot. Okay, and again, we have just the lamed and just the dalet. We don't have the initial yod, so only the last two letters of our shoresh. Okay, it doesn't appear in the present tense conjugation and actually doesn't appear in any of the conjugations, but we'll talk about those later. Okay, so again, nolad, noledet, noladim, and noladot. So hu nolad, he or it masculine is born. He noledet, she or it feminine is born. Anachnu noladim, we are born. And hen noladot, they feminine are born. And as you can guess, this is probably one of those verbs that you are more likely to use in the past tense, but of course we'll get to past tense conjugations in a later lesson. So now for your practice exercises, the first verb that you have is lehivasef, and lehivasef is to be added. And the second verb is lehivater, and lehivater is to be left or to remain. So again, we have lehivasef and lehivater, both have that third syllable starting with the vav, so it's going to use the pattern that we just learned today. Okay, as zeu, that's all for today. Toda ala tzfiya. Leave your thoughts or questions in the comments. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, check out these featured videos below, and I will see you for the next Hebrew verb lesson. Lehidraot.